arising randomly from far-flung branches of the family tree. And then there had been a very few, like Max himself, who were not of Gardella blood, but had chosen the path of a vampire slayer, and had passed the life-or-death test that allowed them to wear the holy, empowering amulet of the Venators, the Vis Bula. Nor were Venators protected from being turned undead by a vampire, although the power of the Vis Bula made it more difficult for the vampire's blood to take hold in the Venator, and to make one undead. Max had always felt Gardelius's fate of death was preferable to being turned into a vampire. The chamber was warm, and the lighting burned low. A massive blaze roared in the fireplace, taking up the entirety of one long wall and casting black and red shadows into the room. Lilith herself was arranged casually on a long chaise, her filmy ice-blue gown draping from her hip to the floor, leaving her white feet and arms bare. Her red hair, so shiny and bright that it appeared to burn, poured over her fair skin in sensual coils that reminded Max of the locks of a copper-haired Medusa. Although she had been on the earth for more than a millennium, Lilith had the beautiful elfin face of a 30-year-old, and a body that matched. Her pose appeared nonchalant, but a fleeting glance at her dangerous eyes told Max a different story. He was glad for the advantage of surprise, at least. The doors closed behind him, and he stopped in the center of the room. Wanting to keep what little leverage he had, he waited. "You're not dead," Lilith said, after the silence stretched. She followed suit and arched her long, lithe body as she drew herself into a seated position, one of control. "Then you're aware I've destroyed Archivon's obelisk, that I've kept my part of our agreement to stop your son, Nadus, from using its power." Lilith had raised Nadus, who was the son of one of her consorts from the 10th century, from an infant, and had turned him to an undead when he was 20. She smiled. Her upper fangs glinted. "So, that's why you have come." Now she stood and moved toward him, bringing with her a renewed burning in the bites on his neck, and the scent of roses. Max felt her presence as it seeped into him, cloying and close, and noticed the way his breathing became heavier, controlled. Although he kept his eyes averted from hers, he felt the first hint of a muscle tremor deep beneath his skin. "You agreed to release me from your thrall if I succeeded." He drew in his breath slowly, keeping it steady with effort. "You didn't expect me to." Lilith tilted her head, turning her face away while keeping her gaze on him in a sly manner. "On the contrary, Maximilian, I was certain you would succeed. I had no doubts. After all." She reached for him, brushing her long-nailed finger along one of his cheekbones. "Those very characteristics attract me to you. Your strength, your determination, and your integrity." Max didn't flinch as the nail, death-sharp, cut a thin line into his skin. His heartbeat was still his own, and though his throat was dry, he was still steady. He wanted to step away, but he didn't. He'd faced Lilith before. He'd face her this time. Now her hand had come to rest on one side of his chest, and they stood face to face, the vampire as tall as he, the weight of her hand burning through his shirtwaist. "Along with this," she added, smoothing her palm over his firm pectoral. With her touch came the strength of her thrall, battling to capture his breathing, the race of his heart, the surge in his veins, his desire. "Will you